Everyone thinks Roman roads led to glorious cities. They often led to something far less grand. Those magnificent Roman roads, stretching across an empire, they didn't just connect grand metropolises. For the common traveler, the merchant, the soldier, they led to a humble, often grimy, roadside inn. A place where necessity trumped comfort, and a roof over your head was often the only luxury. Forget the opulent villas or public baths. This was the brutal reality of travel. Imagine the weary sigh as dusk approached, the pressing need to find shelter before the wolves, or worse, bandits, made their presence known. The inn, or *corpona*, was a beacon, however dim, in the vast Roman night. Stepping inside, the first assault was usually the smell, a potent mix of stale wine, sweat, wood smoke, and unwashed bodies. Light flickered from oil lamps, casting dancing shadows on rough-hewn walls. This wasn't a place for quiet contemplation, but for raw survival. What did a common traveler eat after a long day's march? Not the delicate dishes of a senator. Dinner was usually a simple affair, focusing on what was cheap and readily available. Think rustic, hearty, and often bland. A staple was *pulse*, a thick porridge made from grain, often barley or spelt. It could be served plain or enhanced with a splash of olive oil, perhaps some herbs, or even a bit of cheese if you were lucky. It was filling, if not particularly inspiring. Bread, of course, was essential, not the refined white loaves of the wealthy, but a coarse, dark bread, often baked with whatever grains were at hand. It was dense, chewy, and perfect for soaking up any meager broth or sauce. Meat was a luxury, rarely seen on the tables of a *corpona*, unless it was a cheap cut, heavily salted, or part of a stew that had been simmering for hours. Vegetables like lentils, chickpeas, or cabbage were more common, offering much-needed sustenance. For drinks, water was often suspect, so travelers relied on cheap wine or *pasca*, a diluted, often vinegary wine mixed with water. It was far from gourmet, but it was safer and offered a small comfort after a day on dusty roads. After a meal, if you could call it that, came the crucial question of sleep. Accommodations varied wildly, but generally, travelers could expect little privacy and even less comfort. The concept of a private room was almost unheard of for the common folk. Most inns offered a communal sleeping area, a large room where multiple travelers would bed down together. This meant sharing space and often sharing the floor. Beds were rudimentary at best, often just a straw mattress laid directly on the ground or on a simple wooden platform. Bed linen, a luxury. Travelers often slept in their clothes, using their cloaks as blankets. The air would be thick with the sounds of snoring, the murmur of distant voices, and perhaps the scurry of unwelcome nocturnal visitors. The threat of theft was constant. Travelers would sleep with their valuables, often their coin purse, tucked close to their body, perhaps even under their head. Trust was a rare commodity in these transient spaces. Some inns offered small, partitioned cubicles, a slight upgrade from the open floor plan, but still lacking true privacy or comfort. These were more akin to modern-day bunk beds in a hostel, but far more primitive. The proprietor, the *corpo*, was a figure of vital importance. They were responsible for providing food, drink, and shelter, but also for maintaining a semblance of order. Their character could make or break a traveler's experience, often for the worse. Many *corponi* had a dubious reputation. They were often frequented by prostitutes, gamblers, and even criminals. The line between a legitimate inn and a den of vice was often blurred, especially in the more remote locations. For women traveling alone, these inns posed a particular risk. Safety was never guaranteed, and the vulnerability of being far from home in a rough establishment was a constant concern. A traveling woman often sought out a reputable family's house or a temple for lodging, if possible. Despite the hardships, these inns were essential lifelines. They allowed trade to flourish, soldiers to move, and messages to be carried across the vast empire. They were the unsung, often unpleasant, engine of Roman connectivity. So the next time you marvel at a Roman road, spare a thought for the common traveler. The miles they covered, the simple meals they ate, and the rough, shared beds they slept on. It was a testament to endurance, a stark reminder of life's realities far from home. Their journey wasn't always of grand conquest, but of quiet persistence. What other overlooked corners of the ancient world are waiting to be uncovered?